When is a narcissist likely to stalk you? And I have to say, I love this question because I have lived it, as have many of the members of this community. And first off, I would like to say that the stalking begins after they meet you and decide that you have something that they want. And the thing is, you don't know it yet, and you are being love bombed, and you don't notice that you are being stalked during the love bombing. The narcissist is they will stalk you from the beginning for a number of reasons. Number one being to learn about you. And think of it as upping their love bombing game, and they're kind of doing like intel on the victim in order to mirror them more thoroughly. And as we've all heard, they don't have, as we all know, a narcissist has no empathy whatsoever, and they really don't know how to love. They can't love us. It is simple logic. You cannot perform a task or complete a task if you don't know how. So they start gathering information about you. They sift through that information so that they can create situations that look like you have things in common. They are good at this. They are very, very good at this. And in my life, and in reading and hearing about others who have dealt with narcissists, most have said, I thought that he or she was my soulmate. I thought that I had met the male or female version of myself. And it's because they began creating that mask. They began creating that false image of being our soulmate, of being our twin flame, or whatever it is that you want to call it, at the beginning, way before we ever would have imagined that they would be doing like stalking behavior. So how did they do it? How did they create this image? They stalked us. And during that first date or meeting, they started asking a lot of really interesting questions and things that kind of came off as innocuous or innocent. Like, what's your middle name, or what's your birthday? Just like all of us, you give that information willingly. But when the date was over, they were alone. And when they were alone, you can bet your bottom dollar that they were plugging that information into Google, looking at your Facebook, looking at your Instagram, looking at your social media to learn more about you, and in order to create a proper self-image, a false mask of who and what they thought that you wanted them to be. So besides that, another thing, you have things. You have qualities, possessions, and interests, things that they want. And in this day and time, we all have exes. And for me, I've had the attitude of, when it's over, it's over. And that was before I met a real true blue narcissist. And they're in this kind of competition, and the narcissist knows that, and they have this hidden low self-esteem. And long story short, they want to size you up. They want to know who their competition is. They want to know, because later, if not from the beginning, the whole relationship is a competition to the narcissist. And at some point you will figure out, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this feels like a competition that I'm in inside your relationship. And that's another way that narcissists use this to confuse you. And this is to further manipulate you, because it'll cause you to feel it and wonder to yourself, I love this person, so why does it feel like they're competing against me? And I will say this quickly, at the point to them, it is a competition, as they are stalking every aspect of your life at this point. And when in a competition and the desire to win outweighs succeeding in an ethical manner, what happens? That person is going to start cheating, and consider the stalking method of cheating that narcissist will employ. And I don't mean to get away from answering the question, but like I said, they start stalking you from the beginning. Not surprisingly, like with most things, all narcissists tend to follow the same patterns. They all have the same playbook, it seems like. They show up, they do that with the stalking too. They show up at your work, they show up at your house, they're driving by your house, they're chatting up your friends, they cyber stalk you, they employ the flying monkeys. And the cyber stalking, I think, probably scared me more than anything. And even the physical stalking, obviously, was scary. And on a personal note, I had an ex of mine actually set up a deer hunting camera to keep, like in my neighbor's garage. He had ties to the police, and he was able to talk my neighbors into letting them record my comings and goings using this deer hunting camera. And I had noticed it in 2 places where I had lived, the lights, the green and red lights coming on and off, and I filmed it and actually was able to prove it in court. And anyway, so it's kind of, it just goes to show how far a narcissist will truly go. And this was, a decade later, a decade after the relationship between this narcissist and myself ended. So to the person who asked me this question, and anybody who is wondering, I have to deliver the bad news, and don't shoot the messenger here, but prepare to be stalked for the rest of your life when it comes to a true blue narcissist. And like I said, I have had a few significant narcissists in my life, and I have been physically stalked by these narcissists. And you'll discover that you're being stalked around the time that they devalue and discard you. And they put forth a lot of effort into the stalking and learning about you during the love bombing, like I said, and now they are tired and they are lazy, and they will sometimes slip up. Plus, you don't mean as much to them now, and they probably have some kind of grudge against you, more than likely do have some kind of grudge against you. And so they'll slip up and they'll say something that you didn't tell them that you were doing on a day you thought you were home alone. And the only way they could have known that was by seeing you, reading your text messages, listening to your phone calls, or reading your emails to other people. They'll leave a laptop open on the kitchen table or a phone, go to the bathroom in the middle of cyber stalking you. And silly, lazy things like that. And that at that level of stalking, it will depend on the supply that you are currently giving them. And another aspect I didn't mention is they stalk as a form of control, obviously. And that's another reason why years later they will still be stalking you. They think you belong to them, and really control is a form of supply to them. In their twisted minds, they still think that they have control over you even a decade later, like in my situation. So stalking is all they have at that point. And I have said a lot of this, and I could say a lot more, but I hope I've answered that question. And like I said, you be prepared to be stalked if you have been with a true narcissist. And go no contact. Take back real control of your life, because you never lost it. They just made you feel that way.